I want to thank my good friend, the mayor of Atlantic City, for taking some time out on a very busy Friday to address this. Hey, Mayor, we have an anonymous member of the fire department in studio, and we're obviously, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about whether this grant is going to be applied for. Just for those just joining us, Mayor Guardian is now here. He and I, when we have spoken about it, the mayor stated that that permission would, in fact, be granted for this grant to be applied for, and it appears that the general somehow has been countermanded by one of his colonels who has decided to not allow for the approval. But we still have, even though you've missed the deadline, it's my understanding, Mayor, we still have until 5 o'clock tonight, and then it will be lost because it's just other cities around the country that are hoping that Atlantic City blinks here will very happily take this money that otherwise could fund 88 firefighters. So entering to the scene is the Honorable Mayor of Atlantic City, Mayor Don Guardian. Mayor, what's going on here?
So, good morning, Harry. We had the acting chief, Grenice, prepare the application earlier this week when our staff here reviewed it, including our emergency manager. There was a series of incorrect information concerning some of the costs that were involved with the grant, and the chief reviewed and corrected that information. You know what we were asking for? We were asking if we could have funding from the federal government for 35, and the federal government came back, the SAFER grant said, no, you got to take 85. So the position is we're not going to not put in the application. We would prefer to only have 35, but the application is going to be submitted by 3 o'clock this afternoon or earlier. The BA has given that permission for the chief to submit it. We know now that we have to apply for the 85 in order to get the 35. So although we still believe that 180 to 185 is the right number for the fire department, those 35 individuals cost just under $5 million. So that's what the savings is going to be for the city. And so although we would prefer to have only 35, in order to get that 35, we have to take another 50. What we were concerned about from the beginning is that grants always seem to be better than they are, and we wanted to make sure there were no hidden costs, like matching costs or future financial obligations, and the answer is there are not. The SAFER grant pays for the firefighters, all of their health and pension, the uniforms. There's no direct cost for the city. Of course, you push the issue down the road because at some point the grant is ended and you're going to hope to get it once again. So the application's going through for the 85. And we have not heard, as of this morning, back from arbitration because we had anticipated we would have received yesterday the arbitrators' rulings, which of course is binding on both the city and the firefighters.
Question, Mayor: how come the city allowed this to actually go past the deadline if this was not? And that's my understanding. I know people, a friend of mine just applied for a grant. He got it in 18 minutes or so ahead of the deadline. If he was 18 seconds late, he was out. I mean, they could have shut Atlantic City out and said, you're late, we're not taking it. Why did the city intentionally allow the deadline to be missed? Because, Mayor, you know how much I love you. I mean that personally, too. But this, to me, this isn't Don Guardian. You don't miss deadlines. You don't do this kind of thing. Why did the city let the deadline be missed? And the only rescue here is that they've agreed to allow it to be submitted late. I don't understand that.
Well, the deadline has been changed several times by SAFER. This latest one is today. The reason we didn't submit it earlier is the information on workman's comp was incorrect for what the cost would be for the city to provide that. So we didn't want to get caught short for what the costs actually are for the SAFER grant. It was returned back to the chief, and he was told to get the correct information from wherever he had to get it. He's done that, and now we're ready for the grant to be submitted.
I got you. But I was thinking about the fact this isn't the first time, though, the city has had this grant So the city would already know whether there was ever a matching type deal. I know there's like Summers Point was looking at something once, and the city would have had to match $500,000, so they didn't do it. I understand. That's why I kept leaving open. If there is some financial cost that is exorbitant and the money isn't there and free isn't free, if you read the fine print, free is very expensive, then I understand it. But I'm not going to beat a dead horse because we have a happy ending. The grant is going to be applied for. Is this a formality where this is going to happen, or does this just put you in to consideration? Is this grant a sure thing as far as you know?
I don't have that information.
How about the firefighter? Do you know? You know anything about that?
No.
Okay, but at least you're in. And if you don't get picked,
then
it's not anybody's fault. You're in.
And we were also notified that if we applied for only 35, we would be turned down.
Correct. So I give you credit for that because you would.
Harry, the only cost, and this is very minor, and it certainly is not worth turning this grant down. If you look at the people that are on the SAFER grant, at some point they attrition into the fire department, so they become permanent. Instead of coming in at the first year rate, they'll have 4 or 6 years under the belt because we're going through our second SAFER grant. So you could say, well, you're paying him at the 5-year rate, but you're also getting a 5-year experienced firefighter. So
exactly.
I don't see any downturn, but that was one of the issues. If you're looking for every penny and how is it going to cost the city more money, that would be one of it. What I'm telling you again is 4 years of experience with the Atlantic City Fire Department is certainly worth paying a 4th-year salary.
And by the way, Mayor, not just because, I called you and you called back. You always do that. There's not been one time, and this is even before you were mayor. If it was something about the Special Improvement District, you call Don Guardian, you get a call back. You've earned that respect and you've earned that reputation. So it's not because you're doing what I think you should do, although I have to admit you are doing what I think you should do, because I would have been scratching my head for years to come if this would have slipped out, the back door for some reason. But I'm happy with the result, and I'm also very, very appreciative of your transparency, which you have always demonstrated.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Mayor. Keep in
touch.
touch.
Good morning.
You too.